Hey guys, this is Paige from Beebom.com, and OnePlus NORD arrived recently and there's a lot of hype around it, but there are also a lot of questions. How is the Snapdragon 765G compared to the Snapdragon 855 or 855 Plus? How are the cameras? Which one should you go for? The Redmi K20 Pro, the Realme X3 or the OnePlus NORD? Well, this is our OnePlus NORD review in AR. Not in AR, just kidding. This is a OnePlus NORD review and I'm going to answer every single one of those questions, so let's get started. So first up, let me give you a brief, guys. I've used the OnePlus NORD as my daily driver in two stages. Once for 4 days before the Redmi Note 9 came along, and second after the Redmi Note 9 review went live. And well, ever since I put in my SIM cards in this phone, I've been using it extensively. And I've realized that I don't really dislike anything a lot when it comes to the design of the OnePlus NORD. I mean, you already have all the details from our first impressions video, so like I had said, this is a very premium design for this price range, and I also like the fact that this isn't an overtly huge or bulky phone. Here's a size and weight comparison of the NORD K20 Pro and the Realme X3. As you can see, the NORD is the sleekest and the lightest phone of the lot. The K20 Pro is good too, but the X3 is a big and slightly hefty phone. Now, one thing that might bother people is the fact that the NORD does not have a headphone jack, especially because the K20 Pro and Realme X3 come with that. It did not bother me much because I've been using the Bullets Wireless Z as my primary earphones, but yeah, it's important to note. Now, another thing important to note is that the phone has dual SIM support but no micro SD support, which is not okay, especially because the base variant that's coming soon has only 64 gigs of storage. Also, a lot of people were confused about the fact that this phone is glass metal or glass plastic. Well, let me clear it once again. The back here is glass, while the sides, the frame, is plastic. As for the haptic feedback on the phone, it's kind of usual and similar to what you get with other mid-rangers, and yeah, not as good as say premium smartphones. Apart from all that, I like the design of the OnePlus NORD. The fingerprint scanner is really fast, there's super fast face unlock, the buttons are very tactile, and when it comes to the speaker, the bottom firing speaker at the bottom, it's not the loudest, but it's very clear and the quality is pretty good. Plus, I like the fact that it does not distort at max volumes. As for the display, this is another thing in the NORD that's got me sold. It just looks really good. I kind of always love AMOLED panels, especially on mid-range phones. I liked it on the Redmi K20 Pro and I like it here. Plus, it has the 90Hz refresh rate, which clearly complements Oxygen OS. I know Realme X3, which is in the same price range, comes with a 120Hz IPS LCD and it's a nice smooth display, but I'll take AMOLED over IPS LCD any day. Now, if you remember from our first impressions video, I said something about the brightness looking a little low. Well, to be honest, the NORD's display is not the brightest display out there, but it's good enough. Here's the phone next to the K20 Pro at max brightness outdoors, and as you can see, both of them are on par when it comes to the visibility, and I think both of them are visible, so brightness isn't an issue on the NORD's display. Now, the big question has been around the chipset and the performance of the OnePlus NORD, the Snapdragon 765G, and how does it compare to the competition, because the competition has the Snapdragon 855. So you know what, let's compare the Snapdragon 765G on the NORD versus the Snapdragon 855 Plus, the flagship chipset of last year. Well, both of these are 7nm octa-core chipsets, although the 765G has been manufactured on the newer 7nm EUV process. When it comes to the CPU, the 855 is obviously the more powerful chipset because it has the faster Cryo 485 cores that can go up to 2.84 GHz. The Cryo 475 in the 765G is not too far behind though. When it comes to GPU, the 855 again is slightly better with the Adreno 640 compared to the Adreno 620. Now, do note here that the Adreno 620 on the 765G is overclocked and can go up to 750 MHz compared to the 700 MHz clock speed of the Adreno 640 GPU on the 855 Plus. So the 765G should offer good gaming performance, but the 640 is 640 and it's obviously the more powerful GPU. Now, it's clear that the 855 is the more powerful chipset, but the 765G is definitely more future-proof since it has an integrated 5G modem, so that's something to note as well. Coming to the benchmark scores, the Snapdragon 855 on the Redmi K20 Pro is just ahead of the 765G on the NORD. Here are the Geekbench 5 scores and it's a fairly big difference. I even ran a GPU-centric test, 3D Mark, and again the 855 is just ahead by a pretty big margin. Benchmark scores aside, the OnePlus NORD has been a really consistent and smooth performer for me. I mean, a lot of you guys have asked me how is the Oxygen OS performance with the Snapdragon 765G, and trust me, I was literally looking for any issues because I want to make sure that I don't miss out on anything important, any big problem with the performance of the phone, and well, I got nothing. Well, there has been no lag, and I've used the OnePlus 8 too, and the specs aside, I wouldn't say there's a lot of difference in day-to-day performance. The gaming performance has been top-notch too. The NORD defaults to HD and high graphics on PUBG Mobile, and I've had a number of gaming sessions at this setting without coming across any issues. I also played the game at Smooth and Ultra just to check it out, and the experience was top-notch, so I wouldn't really worry about the PUBG performance. Now, one thing's weird though. The Vivo X50 Pro with the same 765G chipset supports HDR in Ultra and Smooth and Extreme on PUBG Mobile, and even on these settings the chipset handles the game easily, so I'm not sure why these graphic settings are logged in the NORD. As for other games, I played Asphalt 9 2 on the NORD and the game ran very well, so I don't think there's a problem on the gaming performance. Having said that, I also did a game bench test to see the FPS and the consistency. At HD and high, PUBG Mobile on the NORD was consistently around 30 FPS mark without a lot of drops, so that's good. At Smooth and Ultra, the FPS was around 40 most of the time with a dip to 35, 38 at times of action. Compared to this, the Redmi K20 Pro has support for HDR and Extreme, where the FPS hovers around 55 to 60 FPS mark, so that's the difference the Snapdragon 855 brings. So at the end of the day, the Snapdragon 765G on the NORD is fairly reliable and it can handle intensive games like PUBG Mobile with a lot of ease. But yes, if you compare it against the 855 or the 855 Plus, yes, the 855 or the 855 Plus is more powerful. Anyway, let's move on to another important aspect of the NORD, the cameras. As you can see, the OnePlus NORD has the same camera specs as the OnePlus 8. So I had good expectations from it and well, it sort of delivered. In the daytime, the photos from the phone look really good. The colors are very nice. As you can see in this photo, the photos are sharp and I like the dynamic range as well. Sometimes the photos don't have the most accurate color, something I noticed during evening, but I don't think it's a big deal. In low light too, the OnePlus NORD performs very well, at least for a phone in this price segment. Some photos are a bit off in terms of sharpness, but I mostly noticed the phone taking fairly sharp and well-lit shots. Now I also took a few comparison shots with the Redmi K20 Pro, and the NORD does very well against it. In daytime, I think it's a very close call, with both phones doing very well in terms of dynamic range and overall exposure. Sometimes the NORD takes better photos with better lit shadows, but sometimes the K20 Pro takes the more punchy shot, like in this one. But like I said, in most of the other occasions, I found them to be equally good. In low light though, the OnePlus NORD is better. In almost every single photo, you can notice the NORD photo has captured more light and the details too are much better. So overall, the NORD is the better camera phone to me. To be honest, I also wanted to compare the NORD versus the Realme X3 and the X3 Super Zoom, but we don't have those phones, so yeah. As for the rest of the lenses, the OnePlus NORD's ultra-wide sensor does a good job with the colors and the dynamic range, but it's not the best, especially in terms of detail. I know most ultra-wide angle cameras have this problem, but in some shots from the NORD, it was more apparent that the details are too low. There's also the obligatory 2 megapixel macro lens on the NORD, which is honestly average. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything better, but I tried taking some macro shots, but they had noise and they weren't good enough. So yeah, let's skip it. When it comes to videos, there's no 4K 60 FPS support, so here's a 4K 30 FPS video from the phone, and I like the quality. The video looks sharp with really nice colors, although the contrast on the trees look a bit too much. But overall, I like it, and since the phone does have OIS, the stability is also on point. I also shot a comparison video, so here it is versus the K20 Pro, and here you can see that the K20 Pro has captured a slightly warmer video. I'm not sure why, but the OnePlus NORD video looks a bit more stable as well. Look, the K20 Pro video is good too, but I take the NORD. So the rear cameras are pretty good in my opinion, but the selfies aren't far behind too. There are dual selfie cameras here, and I like the selfies from the main as well as the wide angle camera. As you can see, the colors remain mostly the same from both these sensors, and the details are pretty good. When it comes to the videos from the front camera, there's 4K 60 FPS support, but this is a 4K 30 FPS video, and you can shoot videos from both the main camera as well as the ultra wide angle camera. This is a video from the main camera, and I like the quality. Now let's switch to the ultra wide camera. This is the video from the ultra wide camera, and I like the fact that the quality more or less remains the same from the main camera. The colors also remain the same, and that is a good thing. So I like the video shot from the front cameras of the OnePlus NORD. Lastly, there's the battery. The Nord's battery size is pretty similar to what you get in the X3 or the K20 Pro, and in my usage, the battery performance was decent enough. The phone only lasted me for a day, but keep in mind I'm at home and I use my phone a lot these days. As for the screen on time, with the display set to 90Hz, I usually got an SOT of around 6 hours, 6 hours 10 minutes, which isn't extraordinary, but if you take a look at my screenshot, there's a lot of PUBG, so it's fairly good. Also, I set the screen to 60Hz and the battery performance was slightly better because I got a screen on time of around 6 hours, 50 minutes, 7 hours. So yeah, that's slightly better. As for the charging, the 30-watt warp charger is very, very good. It takes the phone from 10 to 50% in just 22 minutes. And it fully charges the phone in exactly an hour, so that's pretty speedy. Time for the conclusion. So the OnePlus NORD starts at 24,999. No, scratch that. It's 27,999 because the 25K variant is coming in September. It only has 64 GB of storage. So should you buy the OnePlus NORD at 28,000 rupees? Well, the answer is pretty simple. The main USP of the OnePlus NORD is the whole OnePlus experience with Oxygen OS, which is ad-free, bloat-free, and just very good. And if I had to choose, I'd buy the OnePlus NORD because of this. Plus, it helps that the rest of the phone is also very well rounded. 90Hz AMOLED, great design, reliable performance, good cameras, both on the front and the back, decent battery, and very fast charging. However, there are phones like the Redmi K20 Pro with the Snapdragon 855 in this price range, and I like the K20 Pro. It's got AMOLED, cameras are fairly good, the design is nice, and let's face it, the 855 is more powerful than the 765G. So it's clear, if you want a more premium gaming performance, go for the K20 Pro or also take a look at the Realme X3. But in every other aspect, I think the OnePlus NORD is the better option to go with. So what are you going to go ahead with? Buy the OnePlus NORD or buy the Redmi K20 Pro or even the Realme X3 or X3 Super Zoom? Tell us in the comment section below. Also give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and make sure to share it with your friends who have been waiting to buy the OnePlus NORD. Lastly, subscribe to our channel for more amazing tech videos. Well, that's me signing off. Thanks for watching and I will see you in the next one.